Following is an encore presentation. Welcome to Joy of Business with host Simone Milicis, a dynamic business leader with a difference. Simone has founded and operated many businesses from a young age and has always done business differently. Today, Simone is the worldwide coordinator of Access Consciousness and travels the world presenting Joy of Business programs using access tools and empowering people to know that they can create business in a different way and make money doing it. Simone Milicis, weekly on OMTimes Radio.
Hi everybody, this is Simone Milicis and you're on OMTimes with the Joy of Business. Now, I have an awesome guest today. Well, all the guests are awesome, but this is Megan Hill, all the way from Colorado, USA.
Hello.
Hey, welcome. And today's call is about getting social. Now, what does getting social mean? So it's not just about social media, it's also about learning to actually interact with others as well, to expand and create more for your business. So, Megan, where do we want to start? Let's get down and dirty with social media.
You know, it's so funny that you started with, you would assume that someone would know how to get social, but they just, or I guess I would assume that, but some people just do not really know how to interact with others very well, or they were taught something very different. I think one of the key things in interacting with people is to actually really be interested, genuinely interested in someone else and what they're creating. So oftentimes what I see in social media, even if you go to like networking events or if you're doing online dating, whatever that is, if you are talking all about yourself, it's a huge turnoff for other people. And yet it's the one thing that so many of us want to do. We just want to talk all about ourselves and tell everyone everything about what we're doing. And if you can just take a deep breath and ask questions about the other person or the group of people or however many people you're interacting with, that's going to make them far more interested in you than you would think.
You know, it's interesting you said that. Yesterday I was with a couple of people and one of them was telling a story about something that had happened and I was just about to ask her another question. I was, desiring to help her be more present, whatever. And then the other person I was with went straight into a story about herself. And I went, oh, God, and I thought in my head, that always seems to happen. And it's not very appealing to hang out with someone who always brings it back to them.
Yep.
And it's not a way to connect. It's not a way to create more business. It's not a way to create, more people actually desiring to know more about you because they're like, oh no, not again.
And if you're aware at all of people and what they're actually thinking when you're talking to them, I can totally tell when the person is not listening to a word I'm saying and they're just thinking about the next thing that they're going to say. And at that point, if you're in a conversation like that, it's so easy to just want to walk away because what's the point if it's just going to be like, okay, wait 2 minutes until it's my turn to go. And then and then wait 2 minutes until it's my turn to go. So, yeah.
And the thing is, it's usually like, here's story 54. No, here's story 362. And, I remember traveling overseas once years and years ago and there was a friend of mine who used to travel with us. He used to hook up with us in different countries and travel with us for 2 or 3 weeks. And it got to the stage, especially after a couple of drinks, we'd be like, Simon, you're doubling up. You're tripling up. If you start to triple up on stories, it's like you've got to come up with something new. It's like this is not that much fun to listen to the same thing over and over again. And it's interesting because if you look at what you like to listen to, and it's like, what if you were totally present with people? What if you could be totally present with people, with your business, with your project, with your service? I mean, nothing worse than getting a massage from someone. And they're not present. They're not present with you and your body. And you're thinking, seriously? It's like, hello, I'm on the table. This is my body.
Absolutely. And there is a different way of questioning and asking questions. If you're just asking the question, I used to be really good at that. Just, okay, what question do I need to ask to get them to talk about themselves so that they feel heard and, loved by me, essentially. Because I was very good at client services, that was guest services, client services, that was my forte. And even those conversations are so boring. Like, how many times can you just hear about the person? Now, you can start that conversation asking a few questions, but it's so fun. And I've had so many conversations with you, where you just start asking questions that are actually creative, that are expanding everything that you're talking about. And you're literally creating business. You're creating, like, I don't even know what we're creating, but we're creating something during every single conversation.
Well, actually, the thing that I noticed too, Megan, is you are, for me, I actually asked Gary Douglas, he's the founder of Access Consciousness, why was it that I thought you were so amazing as well? Not because you are simply amazing, but I was like, but I love talking to Megan, and it's like I love it when I see her. It excites me. And I said, what is that? And he said, because she has the same creative capacity that you do. And I noticed that the people that I sort of have this, because you live in America, I live in Australia, we travel all the time, we work together though, and, I love it when we get to go to like an Access Consciousness 7-day event and we get to have a cocktail in the pool and chat.
Yeah.
But the chatting is not just about stories. And one of the things I noticed the difference too is about people who are willing to create from anything, and then others who do this proving. Energy. And it's like, even through an email, it's like if there's an email that's creative, and then when you get the emails that are like this, oh look, here it is, I'm proving that I had something to do with the topic, or I'm proving that I did, contributed in some way. You're like, oh, really? It doesn't actually create that much. So what if you came out of proving and stepped into creating? And everything that doesn't allow you to get social and create, let's ask everyone to destroy and uncreate it.
Yes.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all known, shorts, boys and beyonds. And as mentioned previously on the Joy of Business shows, if you wish to find out more about the clearing statement, that crazy clearing statement we just said, Access Consciousness, you can go to theclearingstatement.com, and it's all there.
And, I know that I, kind of came on this call to talk about social media, but it applies to everything. What you just said about proving, it's one of the things that it made me hate business. Like, I didn't realize that I loved business until I got around you. But I would sit in meetings after meetings where it was just, let's prove what we're doing for hours, like hours upon hours. And then you find like one little person within a company that could actually have that spark of creation that you're talking about, where it becomes less about what you're doing and who you are and how quickly you're going to get promoted or whatever that is, and more about what we can all create together. And so that's in everything that I do and be with social media and everything that I do with business, that's my target, is like having fun, which is, of course, the title of your show, the joy of business. And I don't think people do the opposite sometimes to get where they think they need to go.
Yeah, and interesting you said something too there about your target, because I do think, what I would invite everyone to do is get clear on what it is you would like to create. Like, what's your awareness of what you'd like to create? Years and years ago, I started a business called Good Vibes for You, because I looked around the world and I went, wow, I don't see much happiness in the world. I don't see, it didn't matter sort of what color, what race, what religion, how much money you had, how much money you didn't have. I couldn't see many happy people around the place. Many people happy. You can say it either way. And I couldn't see that, and I was like, wow, what would it take to change that? So I started this business called Good Vibes for You, and the whole idea was, I wrote this whole piece on vulnerability before I, came along to Access Consciousness, and I desired to create this place where people would just like knock down the walls between each other, so that there would be no barriers, and you sort of, you'd meet somebody else, even in business, God forbid, even in business, and just sort of be like, hi. And it's like there's this mutual gratitude, there's this place, there's this room for movement, like a space of creation. And so if you have the awareness of what it is you'd like to create, because for me, I wanted to change the planet. I wanted to change the way people, were with each other. I would walk around and I'd see this amazing planet, and I would always notice the trees and the flowers and, and I would see people walk past and not notice it at all. And I think, this is crazy. There's so much available on this planet, and this can't be it. Walking around here, like in this, concrete jungle, and it's like with people being ignorant of everything and not aware, this cannot be it. So I was very grateful when I met Gary, the founder of Access Consciousness. But I invite you to have a look and see, what is it that you'd wish to create? And I think that relates to the social media stuff too, Megan. It's like, what are you going on there for? What is it that you'd like to create?
And And why do you think you have to do it the way that everybody else does it? I mean, like Facebook is free. They do not traffic or like police you unless you're doing, absolute profanity or violence or something. So you don't have to follow the crowd on there. It may make you want to throw up how many people are talking about how amazing their life is, and it may make you, want to cry because you found out your ex-boyfriend is now dating some other girl that's prettier than you or whatever. But what could you create? This is like the biggest playground on the planet right now, where you can actually be seen and be heard in the farthest corners of the world. And there are literally 1.3 billion people are on Facebook right now. Facebook's just the largest, so that's why I'll just keep referring to it. But it's like it goes beyond borders, it goes beyond your town, it goes beyond your country. It lets you inspire, invite, and be with people from all over the world. And you don't have to play by the rules that everybody else is playing. And
so
in
what
fact,
about that?
I'm just going to say, in fact, if you don't play by those rules, people actually notice you more.
They get more interested.
Yeah.
So what about the place of, I go onto my Facebook and it's like there's a zillion people wanting to be my friend that, I look to see who else they're friends with, and it's like there's only one friend, and it's like, I swear to God, my name is written on some wall in Afghanistan for the American soldiers, because I get so many requests from American soldiers saying that they're lonely and they're looking for a wife or something, permanent. And I'm like, okay. And it's like, so what's your point of view on sort of just randomly, trying to find friends, or how does that work, or does it not work?
I tend to think, like, because it's become a big arena, people do tend to get a bit scared about just a random stranger friend requesting them. So I would recommend, hey, like, if you meet somebody, if you've heard, like, if it's kind of like 7 degrees of separation, like, like you have somebody that somebody that knows somebody, that's more like acceptable. You can take a look at somebody's profile. But for me personally, if somebody's just like, hey, I think you're cute, I won't accept their friend request. But if I somehow have...
Because you would have millions.
I would have billions.
If you just took all the ones that said, I think you're cute, I want to be your friend, it'd be crazy.
But you can also, I remember I put something, I have a 3-year-old, and I put something on there when he was a kid about letting him eat M&Ms or something, and some woman, like, completely scolded me for how I was being with my child, and I was like, I can delete you. Like, I can actually block you, which is kind of cool. So, like,
I have the power.
I have the power. You don't have to be friends with anybody. And yeah, you can definitely pick and choose what works for you. If you're doing it to grow your business, if it's more of like this open thing, then sure, like pick lots of people if you want. And it doesn't necessarily create. The people that you meet that you're actually engaged with are likely to create more. But you're a bit bigger, like you have a bigger business, so you're going to have a lot of stragglers. And you'll just go with your knowing, accept them, and then you can also delete them.
Actually, that's something I'd love to talk to you too, and about the next segment is, what do you recommend setting up in Facebook as a business and as a person?
Yeah.
It's like, do you do them separate? Do you do them together? It's like, do you do I've got Joy Business as a community, and then I noticed that some people I know actually have themselves as a, what do you call it?
Like a person, a public celebrity.
Or a public figure. Public figure. So
yeah.
Which sort of works well for you? So let's have a look at that in the next segment, and we'll talk to you soon.
Host your show on IOM-FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM-FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Hi, my name is Monica, and I'm the host of Co-Creating Now. Give yourself an opportunity to connect with your all-knowing higher self and manifest joy, love, and peace together every Tuesday, 11 a.m. Eastern.
The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is. The cutting edge of conscious radio. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Okay, so welcome back, everybody. You're with Simone Millicent and the Joy of Business, and we've got Megan Hill on Getting Social. So one of the things we spoke about in the last segment was Facebook. Now, as Megan was saying, it's like Facebook is one of the biggest social media, places in the world. So that's the one we're referring to at the moment. And we will touch on the topic of Twitter, etc. as well. And you know what, I always sound like I know what I'm doing, but I don't. It's like, yes, Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn or whatever that, it's like I have a LinkedIn account. I don't think I've ever been on there. So, but one of the things I was just asking about before you went to the break was, what's the difference or what's your recommendation? Now, I want to just get clear here too. Megan is one of the best people I've ever seen on social media because she doesn't do it from force. It's like she doesn't do it from this push. She does it from an invitation. And, I mean, I described her to someone else recently. It's like I think she was born with different blood running through her veins. It was like this social media blood. So I have finally nudged her enough. She was going to do it, but I kept nudging her to do a telecall on social media and how to make it really easy for you. So we will give you more details about how to jump on that telecall with Megan and get in contact with her. But I value any information that she has. It's just like this idiosyncrasy she has with social media. So one of the things that I wanted to get your feedback on is the difference between, okay, let's use me for an example.
Yep.
Simone Millicent, and then I have Joy of Business. And it's like I'm also Worldwide Coordinator of Access. I have, so Joy of Business is a business, yet I have it up there as a community, and it's like, and then there's the business Facebook, and it's like, how do you use that, and what's the best? What would you recommend playing with in this big playground?
Yeah. So for your business, it does depend on your target. So if Joy of Business is this community, then what you can do from that is it's not all about you. It becomes about the joy of business. It becomes about things that you're inspired by in business. It becomes about what people that, have taken your classes or are now facilitators of Joy of Business. It can become this much wider way to get in touch with people and interact with people. So it doesn't become just about like what Simone ate for dinner. Your personal page is where...
Hey, my husband's a very, very good cook, so that might actually be...
But it can live there. I mean, but you don't want to eliminate it. Again, like you don't want to exclude that because you are the star of Joy of Business. So people are interested in what your husband cooked for you for dinner. You know what I mean? It's like they want to know what you wore, to the beach that day or whatever. Social media is this weird thing where they want to know about your business, but they also are actually more intrigued by the crazy things that you did that day or what you ate or, who you talked to or what, aha you had. One of the coolest people that I've seen is Richard Branson. He's got such a great social media presence because he does it all. I mean, he has an opinion. He's a thought leader on some of the major things that are happening in the world. He takes pictures of him flying on his private jets. I mean, it's likely a team that he has, but they really do it well. So if you ever need to look for inspiration, like find people who are similar to what you're doing if you need inspiration, and then create what works for you. And then, so Simone, for like your personal page, like that's where it's more of this intimate connection. Like it's where people know that that's your personal page, and people will be able to watch you. They can't necessarily interact with you. They can post photos with you. But then if you have another page, which is more your like public figure page, that's purely Simone's voice to the world. So it's a little bit different than, it's kind of like your Joy of Business would be your storefront. If you had a storefront for Joy of Business, that's your business. Then Simone, the personal page, that's like your home. You're inviting people into your home. And then the public figure that's like your public persona, like the one that people would meet out at like networking events. If I had to give like an energy of how each one would get created, that's the energy that I would give.
That's a great way to explain it. Thank you. You just made that so clear for me because, I mean, I was asking this question for you, for all the listeners out there as well, but I was also wanting to get some feedback.
It's all about you, Simone, to know this.
It is. It's all about me. Because I don't have the public figure, but the thing is my target with Joy Business and what I've always designed to create. I mean, yes, I wrote the book. It's like, but, you know, the tools I use come from Access Consciousness. You know, Gary Douglas and Dane here are a huge contribution amongst the over 2,000 facilitators we have in Access around the world. Yet I seem to, like, I have that weird blood of Joy Business running through my vein, and I'd like to invite the rest of the world to that. Because for me, it's like if the world was functioning in business from the joy of it, from asking questions, from, you know, from possibilities, from choosing, from the contribution that everyone can be, it'd be a really different planet. Absolutely. So that's my target, and I'm also inviting other people to be Joy Business facilitators. So that, thanks for that, because my storefront, the community Joy Business, really matches the energy of where I would like to head. It's like I'm willing to, and this is the thing I get too, it's like, I mean, I'm super busy. It's like, wow, I've got so many things on, and I'm willing to be the face of Joy Business if required for now and in the future, and yet I'm also really willing to empower others to be able to be that too. So, okay, so I guess it's getting, what we've spoken about is getting aware on what it is that you'd like to create with your business.
And also, you know, you're really great at this. It's also looking at what's required of you and what other people can actually contribute to. Because if you know, one of the key elements of social media, of all social media, is the content that you're creating. So it can feel like this huge monster of, oh my gosh, I have to write a blog, or I need to take a picture, or I need to create a graphic. Like there's a constant creation that's needed. And if you invite others to contribute to that, so either, you know, you created an awesome, it's my favorite thing that you've, like, that actually anyone has done so far that, like, took some advice of mine and made it, like, way more amazing than I could have even imagined with Business Done Where. You actually created this hashtag, you created a movement where people are taking pictures of where they're doing business, and it's hilarious. Like, someone had a picture of herself, like, breastfeeding her child and typing on the computer, and that's so real, you know? It's such a real image. Or getting their hair done and having a conference call and getting your nails done and still working. Like, that's actually what's going on, and yet the kind of like the facade of business is that it's all done in an office or in some place that's magical, but you're doing it everywhere and everybody's multitasking, and that's really the joy of it and the hilariousness of it, and you're bringing that to light, which it's just the hashtag alone and the photos bring up the energy of joy that's possible.
So my favorite one of that, and so if you want to do that, anyone out there listening, it's hashtag Business Done Where, and go ahead and post it on our, go ahead and post it on our Joy Business page. One of my favorite ones was a friend of mine skiing in the Swiss Alps, and she's like, if you look closely, I'm stopped in the middle of the mountain, and she's like texting something about business because she's got this beautiful product called Begenki, and you know, she's a blogger in the beauty industry and stuff, and I thought that was fantastic. So
it is.
So Business Done Where, because it's
and
true.
If you don't know how to hashtag, I'll give a brief. People freak out about hashtags. It's just the number sign before this little phrase that Simone just gave you, and then anytime you put that phrase in any social medium, it's actually across the board. It started on Twitter, but now it's across the board. You put that anywhere, somebody can click on that, and then they can find all of the posts related to Business Done Where, so you can actually find them. So it's this little tracking device, so that when
you know what?
Yes,
that's funny because that's the first time I got that. I mean, I've sat with you. I remember in Florida in October, I sat down with you. We were at a restaurant, you know, a glass of wine. And I'm like, okay, Megan, tell me what this hashtag thing is again, because I don't get it. Why are we hashtagging? Like, I just don't get why. And she said, and you said to me, because it's funny. And I went, I don't see the I'm not seeing the joy. I'm not seeing that it's funny. She's like, yeah, but you can get really creative. I'm like, still not getting it. And until you just said that, I didn't get it. That it's like you actually, so Business Done Where with the hashtag, At the beginning. It's at the beginning, isn't it? Not at the end. You're talking
It can be at the end. It can be anywhere. It can actually be anywhere. As long as you add the number thing, it lets everything know that that's what you're hashtagging.
I didn't realize that if you click on that, then all the other hashtags with the same topic come up. Like I think, like, why are people doing hashtag love, hashtag this? And I'm like, I don't understand. And
that's where you can see what's trending. So, like, you know, in a bigger world, so a bigger topic, like, you know, whatever, like, you know, world events, there will be this hashtag that comes out of it. There was a really cool one recently in Australia, actually, and now I can't remember it, but
I know what it is. I'll tell you what it is. There was it was called Ride With Me. Gives me chills, actually.
Yes.
Because there was we had a terrorist attack.
Yeah.
And you know what? I mean, with the media, I'm really not sure exactly what went on, but there was a few people who died, and it went. I mean, Australia. You know, we're so funny down here. It's like we don't feel like we have any threats. We don't feel like that we have really any enemies. You know. I mean, everyone talks about Australia and it's like, oh, look, you've got koalas and kangaroos and, you know, sunshine and beach. It's like, it's not really a problem, you know. So it was interesting to have that occur. It was in Sydney not very long ago, over the Christmas time. And there was a guy who took over a chocolate shop, actually, Link Chocolate. And I was like, God, they're going to make a lot of sales. That's me looking at the business side of it. But everyone's going to go want to check it out. So anyway, he took it over and took some hostages, and it went for, I think it was about 18, 20 hours, like, and it was throughout the night, and they got a lot of hostages out, and somebody, you know, there was a few people who were killed, but what happened was, because he was Muslim, and then everybody, of course, goes to the judgment of like, oh, he's Muslim, so this is what all Muslims were doing, and the whole of Australia was like, why are we putting all of Muslims in this box rather than this is just this one guy? So throughout the night, everybody started this hashtag of Ride With Me. So the next day at work, and people were putting posts up like with, say, an orange scarf around their wrist or something saying, hey, I'm going to be on this train going from here to there. I'll be wearing this orange scarf. If you're, you know, afraid, basically, come ride with me. And it was amazing to see the energy that got created in the whole of Sydney. Yeah. And people saying, well, in the whole of Australia, really, because it was sort of that people didn't know what to do. It's like we're not used to having that fear installed in us instantaneously. So it was, okay, I get how hashtags can work.
Yeah, and you know,
incredible.
And that's just one example. Like when people get so irritated, I get mainly complaints about social media. Like people don't want to do it. They think it's stupid. They don't want to get on. It takes too much time, blah, blah, blah. But when you actually, like you take that and somebody had this idea to create a movement, I mean, I remember seeing it on the news here in the U.S., and it was such a chilling thing where that actually trumped that whole Twitter, or I don't even know, it was probably everywhere, but the whole social media trend that occurred, that actually trumped the terror and the drama and the fear that the media was trying to basically portray, and that story became bigger. And so that's how, for me personally, when I see that kind of stuff, I'm like, that's how we can change the world. That's how whoever started that, whoever kept it doesn't, one person can't create that, but when you have a group of people saying, you know what, this changes. Like, we're not going to create where every Muslim in Sydney is scared to ride or travel in public. So let's change it now. And that's what's possible.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're giving me chills sitting here right now.
I'm giving myself chills.
I've got the air conditioning on. It's hot here in Australia. I've got the air conditioning on. I'm getting chills. So thank you. You know, that so matches the energy of what I'd like to see in the world too. Yeah. And what I love about that story and its work with social media is what else can we change in the world that we've been refusing to acknowledge, that if we didn't refuse to acknowledge it, would actually change our entire reality and this whole planet's entire reality.
Yeah.
And everything that is and everything it doesn't allow you to perceive, know, being, receive it. Destroy and uncreate it. Crazy access consciousness clearing statement. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all names, shorts, boys and beyond. I'm going to see, I had this process earlier this morning on something. This is an access process. What would you have to acknowledge about you that if you did would allow you to commit to your life and create infinite possibilities? And everything that is times a Godzillion where you destroy and uncreate it.
Yes.
right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all known, shorts, boys and beyond. So we have a whole lot of access consciousness clearing statements that change the energy. And that's exactly what that, hashtag Ride With Me did. And it's like, but you can change anything, and you can change anything with social media too, surprisingly. I'm so glad I finally got hashtags. Okay, so we're going to a break, and we look forward to speaking to you soon. You'll enjoy business, Simone Millicent and Megan Hill.
As difficult as it is to believe, there are places in Africa where human traffickers sell albino children and their body parts for use in magic rituals. Humanity Healing International is actively working in Uganda to change this paradigm. The Albino Rescue Project finds albino children who are at risk and places them in safe schools and environments where they can learn and grow free from fear. To learn more or to sponsor a child, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Hi, I'm Katrina Kavanagh, host of the I Am Wisdom radio show. I Am Wisdom is about the connection between mind work and energy work, spirituality and living a wonderful life. Looking forward to sharing each Sunday 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with you.
Have you bought into the idea that you have to work hard for your money, that business is hard? I will share some dynamic access consciousness tools to get you out of your own way so you can create a business that actually succeeds. Join me, Simone Millicent, on The Joy of Business at 4 p.m. Mondays Eastern.
The Conscious Parenting Radio Show provides inspiration and resources for loving, empowering, and respecting your children and yourself. Join me, Timothy, every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time as we consciously explore proven ways of living together in happiness, health, and harmony.
Connecting you with the best of the conscious minds in the world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Okay, welcome back everybody. You're with Simone Millicent, Joy of Business on OMTimes. And we've got Megan Hill here on Getting Social. We seem to be going into all different topics, but that's what Getting Social is. It's like, so have you defined what social media is? Have you defined what Getting Social is, and misidentified it rather than actually asking questions and function from an awareness that you've been refusing to acknowledge that is actually there? Doesn't that sound like way more fun? Like everywhere that you've been refusing to have the joy of business with social media, let's destroy and uncreate it and change it.
Yeah.
Right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all known, shorts, boys and beyond. So what other forms of social media, Megan, can we talk about and give some top tips for people out there and all the people out there who are going, oh my God, I just want to turn this off and delete it because social media is too much? What I'd like to say is, guess what? You can actually hire people to assist you with this. Mm-hmm. So that's something I'd like to go through with you too. But let's talk about other forms of social media that you think can contribute to one's life and expanding their business.
Sure. Purely from, I have a lot of years in advertising and marketing, and it's one of those things that they kept predicting all along the way, and it's now totally here. For the last 4 or 5 years, what you would call a consumer, or basically anybody in the world, is in charge of what the information that they're seeing, what they're watching, what they're reading. So social media can be anything. I mean, it can be blogs, it can be YouTube videos, it can be videos. I know there are so many little videos, social media arenas like Vine. It's like little 7-second videos. You have Twitter, you have Instagram, you have Pinterest. Like there's literally endless amounts of social media, and what's popular now will most likely change. It's always changing, which stresses everybody out because just when they've figured out how something works, it changes. But this is how the world is getting created now. And so what I would recommend is that whatever it is, start with one. So I tell people, if you haven't ever been on social media, start with Facebook. It's the most consistently large. It's still the biggest. And if you don't like that, then try something. Do you like taking pictures? Instagram is more of a picture thing. You don't even have to say words. You can just post pictures. Pinterest, if you make things, if you create actual products, it's a great place to be. If you do crafts, if you do whatever it is, if there's a physical thing, or if you inspire people through poetry, it can be a place where you're sharing videos. But I mean, you can be everywhere, which is great. Like Simone, you're big enough. I would suggest having an overhaul of all social media so that if anybody's looking for a different way of doing business, that they can find you. The key is that somebody can actually find you, because people are looking for things. They're literally, Google is basically a word now because people can find anything. It's not just a service online. People say Google that and that you can find that. So if someone's looking for a different way of doing business or inspiration, you want people to be able to find you. So that's,
I have a funny story about that, with the Google thing. My niece, she's 10, and at school, before the end of the year, they had this project, and they had to, because they were teaching about Google, etc., and they had a project, and they had to, the person who Googled a relative of theirs who had the most, hits on Google won a prize. And she's like, Auntie Simone, it was great. She said, when I Googled you, you came up everywhere. She said that her teacher actually came over and went, Ellen, are you sure this is your auntie? She was like, yes. She said, so she was so happy and so proud of me that she won this prize at school because I was the person who had the most hits on Google.
It's so funny because so many people, I'll take my dad, for example, he is paranoid that if there's any information about him online, then the government can track him. And it's just kind of this funny way of, it's this old school way of seeing things. And so if you have this fear of being seen, just look at it. People can track everything. If you're using a smartphone, somebody knows where you've been. It's just how it is. And I am one of the things that we talk about in Access is that if it makes you heavy, then it's likely a lie. So if you feel all heavy when you're thinking of getting on social media, is it actually true that, someone can find you? And there's all these fear tactics out there that they use to keep you from basically being you online. So be aware, and you don't have to post your address everywhere or invite everybody to your house, but just be aware of what you're choosing and what's actually real and true for you. And that's what I would say about that.
Hey, can I ask you some questions too about, you mentioned Instagram, Pinterest, Vine. What's Vine?
Vine is a video social media. It's really big for college kids or high school kids. It's literally 7-second videos. So if you're trying to get a message across instead of a dance move, then it's not for you.
Actually, my son and I the other day were playing on, he found an app for me, a Dub Smash. And but they would be under 7 seconds, and they're just different quotes or pickup lines or noises, and it's you record yourself, your picture of you, and it's got the words on there. So we were having a lot of fun with that. So I see how that could work for that.
I mean,
it was funny though because we lay on our bed and played for about an hour.
Yeah, and that's what it really is.
Yeah,
that's what that's how Facebook started. I still remember. I was actually on. Oh, I can't remember the name. What's the music one? MySpace. I was on MySpace.
Yeah.
And that was what was cool when I was in college. And when I got out of college, my brother was still in college, and he was on Facebook. And I'm like, I don't want to go on Facebook. That's so lame. But I worked for a modeling agency, and I had to, we had big casting calls. And the only way to, pull college students in for this reality show casting call was to set up a Facebook account. But all of these, big social mediums, they start out as play. It doesn't start out as a way to create business. It starts out where kids, college kids, whatever age, they're just playing, and it's fun. And so that's what I would actually encourage everyone to do, is actually play more with it, because it just became not fun when everyone stopped playing,
So you want more people to play in that large playground?
Yes. I mean, it's funny to see people, doing funny dances or whatever. That's actually the joy of just taking a moment and being okay, everyone's really funny. So this is just part of it.
So, and hashtags are funny.
And hashtags are funny, yes.
So, just as a hint too, I've got some friends, Steve and Shatitha Bowman, who will be coming on this Joy Business Show with me on OMTimes. And they use their Pinterest account, which I think is a great idea, for restaurants around the world that they love, because sometimes, I mean, they travel just as much as me. So it's you go to this fabulous restaurant in London and you're thinking, what is that restaurant that I went to? They look up their Pinterest account and go, oh, that's what it is, or that they can pass it on. And I was like, that's such a great idea, because it invites this, it's this invitation into the Bowman's life, where are the Bowmans now? And it's very funny. You know how people get this, it's almost trendy to be annoyed when people put photos up on about all the food. But you know what? they put some of the most divine food up that you're like, where was that? I'd love to go. So it invites them into your life.
Yeah, and you'll go there. Like, you'll be like, oh, I got to get on Pinterest and see what they went to in the city. You know, like, you'll actually go there as a resource.
So contributing to other businesses, I like that. That's my sort of joy of business. That's my planet. How much can we contribute to other businesses as well?
Exactly.
Yeah. So I like the way they did that. Now, talk to me about Twitter, because I've heard that, you know, but it's one of those rumors that goes around, is that Twitter is sort of mainly for that public figure type thing. You know, I heard that it was mainly for the basically the Hollywood industry. Is that correct? Not correct? How can people use Twitter to their advantage?
It is. And the new thing on the street is that Instagram just passed Twitter in December. So you're ahead of the game since you're now on Instagram, because Instagram is actually even more engaging for people who want to look at celebrities, because people are actually interested in their photos, not necessarily all the tweets.
What they say.
Yes.
Ah, clever. Actually, I must say that my niece, the same one, Ellen, said to me the other day, because she Skypes me. She's so cute. She's on Skype, so she'll always Skype me. And she said, Auntie Simone, you on Instagram? And I said, yes. And she went, oh, great. I'll connect with you on there. And I was like, oh, okay. I said, but I've got a team of people that do stuff, so it's not always me, but you'll always get me on Skype, you know. She's like, oh, okay. So how can people use Instagram to their advantage then? What does that look like?
It's literally, you know, you brought up Chutissa and Steve Bowman, and Chutissa, I actually always am kind of intrigued by what she posts, because she'll take pictures very artistically of whatever city she's in, and it's basically seeing the world through their eyes. If they're doing a photo like that. I post a lot of pictures of my kid, or like you can post videos, you can post quote graphics, but it takes all of the words. Like rarely do, like I think it's either the same or less character limit than Twitter, and mainly people just write like one little tiny sentence, so it becomes less about, you know, everything the person has to say, and it's all visual. So it's just creating who you are through that, and you can have a look at lots of ways people create that. I mean, the Kim Kardashians of the world, everything is about, you know, her body or her new makeup or that kind of thing. You can take pictures of things that have inspired you. It can be everything. And the key with social media is people are interested in you. If you give them a window to your world and they like you, then they'll likely keep looking for what you're doing. So it's just the first step. They'll start being like, wonder what joy of business is. Wonder why she's always having so much fun doing business. Wonder what the heck, you know, where she's at now. Is she teaching a class? So then that'll lead them to your website or to some other page where they can actually get more information about you. It's kind of to tease people into more.
And one of the things I'd just like to add quickly before we go to the next break is that if people, you know, liking you and getting into social media, what if that was about you being you?
Yeah.
Because that's what's going to be the greatest invitation. So we're going to go off to a break and we'll talk to you soon.
Hi, this is Sylvia Henderson, intuitive life coach and energy healer. Are you ready to elevate and rise way above your normal? Be sure to listen to my show, Intuitive Transformations, on OMTimes Radio, Sunday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern. Get the inspiration you need to transform your life.
Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Hi, this is Angela Levesque, host of Entanglement Radio. Join me Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern for inspiring conversations with visionaries in spiritual science and conscious healing. Entanglement Radio, Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern. Transcendent talk for the conscious mind.
Your conscious connection to a more mindful world. OMTimes Radio, IOM FM.
Hi everybody, welcome back to The Joy of Business with your hosts Simone Millicis and Megan Hill, and we're talking about getting social. And one of the things that we were talking about before we went to the last break was Megan was talking about creating this energy of, you know, people, I guess, liking you in social media, and they're going to want to find more out about you. I mean, you know, I used to always do business from trying to find someone. I used to call it the vibe. It's like, you know, who had the vibe? Who actually wished to create a future relationship with me now and in the future, you know, to create a greater business. What I'd like to do is I want to plug Dane's book, because we have a friend of ours, Dr. Dane here, who is a co-creator of Access Consciousness. We work pretty closely with him. And he's written this book called Being You and Changing the World. And it's available in audio and on book, Amazon, accessconsciousness.com website, drdanehere.com. It's like, I advise you to get it, because you know what? This is like, life is not about trying to be somebody else. It's not about trying to prove something. It's not about trying to get it right, trying to get it wrong, or prove that you got it wrong, or prove that you got it right. It's about being you. And it's like, if you're willing to commit to your life, if you're willing to actually commit to your life and be you in every area, it's like, that's a far greater invitation. It's like, if you stop and have a look at the people that you know, and it's like those people who are totally present with themselves and who don't go into judgment of others and don't go into judgment of what they've created. They're being them. They're willing to sort of go, oh, okay, you know, interesting choice. I made that choice. Now what can I choose? It's like, that's a far greater invitation. And it's not just a far greater invitation for people to show up in your life. It's a far greater invitation for business, for money to show up. I mean, one of the things that Gary Douglas talks about, which I think is great, is, you know, if you were having a party and you wanted to invite money to the party, you know, and you went, okay, so money, would you like to come to the party? There's going to be no music. There'll be no food. There'll be no alcohol. It's going to, you know, not going to go very long. It's going to be dark and dismal. It's like there probably no one will show up. Would you want to actually show up? And it's like, it's the same thing with money. Money doesn't want to show up to the trauma and drama and to the, you know, the stories of the poverty-stricken or the lack or the scarcity. Money would actually like to show up to joy, to show up to the party that's got music blaring and it's like, you know, everyone's having fun. It's like, there's great food, there's great wine, there's great company. So are you creating your business and your life like that? Are you committing to your life, which means you can actually create your own financial reality and create your business, or are you trying to prove something? Now, what we're talking about is getting social. And it's like, I get that social media is one of the easiest places in the world to hide. And what if it was one of the easiest places in the world to be present with you? So that's what I'd like to invite you to. And Megan, yes.
You know, for me personally, like I'm kind of the type of person that I'm really great when you're face to face with, you know, like a more personal interaction in person, I guess. So social media for me was always a bit strange because I always saw people talking a lot about themselves, which I don't tend to do. It makes me feel very uncomfortable to kind of like brag about myself. So I started out really working, and it was really easy for me to promote other people. I was excellent at it. I am great at it. I know that. And then it, you know, this whole thing of committing to your life, Simone, I had this, you know, crazy experience where I almost died, and it was very traumatic and blah, blah, blah. And from that point on, I started committing to who I would actually like to be. Like, why would I not be who I am in social media or wherever just because I'm afraid of what all my friends from high school would think, or what, you know, people that I used to work with would think, that I wasn't, you know, appropriate. I didn't match their level of, you know, what was cool, what was not cool, what was appropriate for
their
business.
Judgment.
All of their judgments. And, you know, when I said, like, basically F that, I'm just going to do what would, if I were actually being me right now, what would I actually post here? What would I actually like to invite and inspire to the world? Even if it's something as simple as, like, I love this music video because it makes me want to dance every day. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that, you know, you don't think of it as it's very simple, and yet that's the kind of stuff that people resonate with because they get to know you. And I'll post things where, you know, we have a lot of groups in Facebook I work a lot with Access Consciousness, so we have a lot of groups, and there's so many people who will go in there and attempt to prove that they're conscious, or prove that they're getting consciousness right, or prove that they're getting something right and that they're not wrong. And my favorite thing to do is actually what creates the most for me personally. What I love to do is talking about where I was stuck and how I got out of it, or that vulnerable place that people just melt into. And Simone, I've seen you do that as well. And it's like, when I see you do that, like you're this, you're the worldwide coordinator, like you're this powerhouse that looks like you have everything together. And when you come out and post something, you don't do it all the time, which is, you don't want somebody just to talk about how terrible their life is all the time, because that's boring. But like, you just admit, like, oh, this was going on for me, and this is what changed it. It's like, oh, wow, somebody else had something going on too. And then it creates this, this movement, this inspiration where people actually get inspired, and then they get to change and choose as well. So that's what I see the gift of Dane is, with his book that you talked about. And everything that he does, I work a lot with him. And it's so funny because I'll have people ask me, because I do work closely with him, what's he like outside of class? What's he like when he's off stage? I'm like, he is the same. Like maybe maybe he doesn't talk as much, which is weird. But like other than that, he's the same. Like who you see on stage, the way that he writes in his books and any media that he does, he is the same if you met him on the street. And that's, to me, one of the coolest gifts when you meet people like that there is no pretense, there is no, like, facade persona, that it's just them. It's one of the greatest invitations to being more that I've ever seen in the world.
Well, yeah, you don't have to pretend you're somebody else, because that's not interesting.
No.
Hey, can I ask you, Megan, you said that you nearly died. Do you mind if you tell that story?
No, yeah, I'll tell it.
Because you say nearly died, and it's like, it was a pretty full-on story, and it's like, so yeah.
Yeah, the way that my life was going was I had everything. I had the career, I had everything, I was married, I had a new baby, and my life was just blah. Like, I was just like, oh, this is so boring. Can I just get out of here? And I didn't know that I actually didn't care to live. It just wasn't that exciting. And then one day I was walking home from a chiropractor appointment in Chicago, and a guy came up to me when I was trying to get into my mom's house in a fairly nice neighborhood in broad daylight, and he put a gun in my chest. And he was basically trying to get in the house and do all sorts of, terrible things. And I fought back, but I didn't fight back in this reality sense of the world. What Gary Douglas talks about in a lot of his classes is the willingness to have killing energy. So the willingness to actually, kill if required. And I never got what that was, and I actually always really got annoyed with the story because I heard the story several times in classes. And then when this occurred, it was like every ounce of that energy, and likely more, that he was inviting the awareness of showed up, and I just was that, and I can't demonstrate it besides just kind of giving you, I guess, an energetic glimpse of it. And it was so intense that the guy, he beat me up a little bit, but he didn't get in the house, and he eventually walked away. So from that point on, everything's been different, as you can imagine. So I could have gotten into like post-traumatic stress disorder and like lived, very like hidden, like talk about not wanting to be found online. The guy is still out there. He knew where I lived. He knew everything, like he had my cell phone and everything. But it actually allowed me to become even more me, even more present, even more seen than I'd ever been willing to be. And part of that was because if you're going to die at any time, why not choose to live now? It's like, why would I spend my whole life trying to be something that other people would approve of or like or find valuable? Why? I'm just going to be me, because at any second it could be over. And I could swear, and I would swear right now, but I don't know if it's allowed.
But the thing that I've noticed, Megan, too, is that you did become more present. It's like there was more of a demand in your world, in your reality, to have more, to be more, to choose more. And it's like, this is our life. This is our living. Are you living it? Are you living your life the way you'd like to live it? And it's like, as I've stated before, it's like, for me, business is the adventure of living.
Yeah.
So it's like if you commit to your life, you can commit to your business. And it's interesting too, because the things that, if you're willing to be that, it's like the things that you've been ignoring or avoiding, and it's like, or you think cannot change, suddenly change. And it gets that easy. So it's like being committed to your life requires you to be present as well.
And it's such a funny game, if you will, life. You know what I mean? It's like for so long I was waiting for someone or something something outside of me to actually, you know, like give this energy of living to me. I was truly like dying to live. I was searching for like what could make me feel so totally alive that I couldn't even imagine. I had to choose it, and I've been choosing it, and I keep choosing it. And it's so funny, like just this, you nudging me to create this telecall, it's another step to committing to what I'd actually like to create. And I actually had dinner with Jane in San Francisco, and I'm like, I don't really get why everyone wants me to do this social media call. I'm like, it's like social media, I can do so many things. And he's like, yes, and what if this call is actually going to give you the awareness of what you're capable of? And just with this conversation, and then creating the telecall, like actually writing the copy, and seeing how many people are actually excited for it. It's so weird. People actually want to be on this call. To me, I'm like, there's going to be like 5 people that show up.
So we've only got about 30 seconds to go. So where do they find you, and how do they get on this call?
Access Consciousness. It starts accessconsciousness.com. You can find me under facilitators. It's likely the only class I have listed right now. And or you can find me on Facebook. It starts on January.
Megan Hill.
Megan
Hill.
Yep. And you can, it starts on January 29th. It's $300 for 4 calls. And we will go where we went today and beyond. My target is to give you the energetic change that you require to be you. So what we talked about, whatever I can contribute to that, where you're scared to be you online. And also the information, whatever information you need to actually get started, or if you're already started, whatever information you need to change it so that you're actually creating something greater for you and the world.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Megan. I look forward to your call. Thanks for joining us on OMTimes with Joy of Business. Thanks, Megan Hill.
Bye-bye.